welcome to everyone. You'll all probably know my name already, but I'm Marisa, and Jules is with us this morning. She's going to be the technical whiz kids. I'm looking at her saying, aren't you, Jules? But very long story short, we set up Gold Digger Collective last year, and it's basically a local group about empowering women, mainly business women. And last week we set up a very responsive group for women in business because we just knew it was about to happen. And then, of course, overnight, we're not just women in business, we're not just career women, we're now also homeschooling, just to add that into the mix. So what we thought we could do was have a Zoom conference call where we could try to guide you through what this might look like over the next couple of weeks. And I'm so delighted to say that we've got Sue Atkins joining us this morning, and I'll give you a wee bit of background to my relationship with Sue. I'm smiling at her. So I have got, as you know, I've got Roisin, who is 7, she'll be 8 in June, but I've also had stepsons, and Kieran, I'm saying past tense because he's no longer living in the same house, but Kieran is now, he'll be 21 in July, and he basically grew up with us. So we had a few challenges when he became a teenager. I always say one day he walked up the stairs and came back down a caveman. So Sue and I were in touch via Twitter, pre-Instagram days, and all of a sudden I called out to her and I said, look, can we do some work together? So I think in life, everybody needs a mentor. Sue was my parenting coach, mentor. Done quite a few sessions with Sue, and I have to say that the tools that I learned with Sue, I call upon, especially at times like just now, but they always stay with me, and I take them into, you know, guidance with other people, motivation, support with other people, and it's really helped me. So I was chatting to Sue yesterday. We've been chatting quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, just Sue sends you nice funny messages and things. And I have to say, and we'll post this link on later, but with one of our colleagues, she's also created a book about antiviral, and that is all about the virus in about a really good way, a very encouraging and supportive way to talk about the virus with your children, because that's quite challenging as well. It's a real time of uncertainty for adults, so you can only imagine what's going on in their minds. And one of the key things that I've been thinking about recently is for Roisin, she's went to nursery since she was 6 months old, so part of her routine has been Monday to Friday learning, playing, being cared for, and spending time with her friends, and all of a sudden last Friday that's removed from her life. So whilst we are all feeling a bit chaotic in our minds, for me I'm also thinking about what does that mean for Roisin, and sometimes I feel that we need to take that step back and say, well, this is a period of transition for our children as well. They are stepping completely into the unknown, where in their minds they probably think, oh well, I can still go out and play with my friends, when absolutely they cannot. So there's so many things that are involved. I will say from the outset that I am absolutely not the perfect parent. By 10:30 a.m. yesterday morning I was shouting. And so what we're going to talk about today is how do we survive this? Some top tips of real life. I am not Mary Poppins. You will have seen the meme that's going about, and we've got Mary Poppins on day 1, and we've got Miss Hannigan on day 3. So
I have a poster that has Cruella de Vil.
Yes, so I
evening.
Exactly. I've played many roles since Monday, and the key thing that Roisin's been saying to me since Monday is, oh, this work's too hard. So I'm saying to her, well, I'll be having a chat with your teacher, because the teachers are coming online in her school soon. And I'll be saying, please send me primary 1 schooling instead. So we'll just chat about some top tips, and we'll take questions from yourself on really anything at all that you're worried about, anything at all that you are feeling a bit hopeless about. I've already chatted, quite a few people have been in touch with me, and one of the things that's coming out is the volume of work that some children have to do at home, and also for some parents that's quite a scary position, because they don't actually know how to deliver or teach any of the work. So the top tip that I'm starting off with is you can only do what you can. We also have a big balance just now where there are many parents who are working from home and are trying to keep businesses running, trying to keep their career going. So for me, you absolutely only can do what you can. So do we want to open up some questions? If anybody has got any questions first off, or Sue, do you want to do the intro?
Yeah, well, how are other people finding it? I mean, have you got younger children? Is everybody kind of the same as Marissa, finding it a challenge? I mean, my first point is I'm a former deputy head and class teacher for 25 years. Don't try and be, you know, Miss Jean Brodie or Professor Snape or Butlin's Redcoat. You know, don't feel you have to entertain them all the time, educate them all the time. This is a very unique and unusual situation. The first thing to say is you must reassure them and help them feel safe and secure, because you don't want to traumatize them. Who cares if they don't know their 7 times table at this moment? You know, they might like to keep reading going. I think reading to your children, sitting and kind of cuddling up even and reading with them is just one of the main things. If you can keep that going and that you improve their reading skills, then you've done a great job. Don't put pressure on yourself to be doing all sorts of stuff, you know, and get them off the computers at times, get them running around. If you've got a bit of space, get them out in the garden. I know we've got to self-isolate to a certain extent, but you know, if you've got your own garden, then they can let off some steam. So my advice also is to break the day up, have a little plan for the day and have a little plan for perhaps the week. I keep it very small steps. Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I woke up this morning and I thought, right, what's today about? Well, today was about this, and it's about my Instagram's, you know, live at 10. And then I thought, you know what? And then I'm going to go out in the garden because it's sunny, and I'm actually going to do perhaps today. You know, yesterday I did something else and I wrote some articles or something. But break it up and look after your own mental health. I've got a webinar actually around parental well-being and mental health that I did a little while ago, and it's never been more important for you as mums, because we are the linchpin to a family. And so you've got to take care of them. Don't feel guilty if they do get on your nerves. You do need to get away from, you know, partners, children, and sometimes just have me time, whether it's reading a book in your bedroom or having a bath with scented candles or going for a bit of a run or whatever you like to do. Very important to take care of yourself, because it's like the oxygen mask. You have to put that down first before you can take care of the family. So I don't want to take over the whole conversation, but I hope that helps and gives us a bit of a start up. So how is everyone else coping?
Hello.
Yeah,
I've got 2 kids. I've got an 11-year-old boy and a 5-year-old girl. The first day was okay. Yesterday was slightly challenging because my son's work's quite a big workload for having been in the situation we're in. But like you said, I just kind of broke it down into wee stages. Let them do some work, let them go outside for a bit of a play, brought them back in. It was just more for my son trying to get it into his head that, you know, it's unusual circumstances, doesn't have to get it all done. If he doesn't get it done, well, that's what I'm saying anyway. It's not a big deal, you know, you're trying your best.
Yeah, I mean, I was very mindful that children I've written a program called primary to secondary.co.uk. There's a plug. No, I started doing films and videos and checklists and guides for children in year 6 here in the UK, getting ready to go into year 7. So it's for teachers and parents, but mainly for families and kids to build their self-esteem, their resilience, because I work with Jo Fitzgerald. She's a mental health aid trainer and a former deputy head like me. So we've got about 60 years experience between us. But I was very mindful of when you said 11, because here in the UK, they moved them. They just left school on Friday, and then they will be straight back into a secondary school. They've left their friends. They haven't been prepared by the teachers, who obviously in the summer term get all of that ready and have been building up their confidence and all the other stuff. So it's a challenging time, isn't it, for kids? And finding and talking and teaching them about balance is important. And it sounds like if your son's overwhelmed with the work, breaking it down to small bits, explaining that this is different. You know, yes, if you want, you've got to keep it going, because also it's good for them to be sort of doing some things to occupy their mind, but also it's an opportunity for kids to go, and I know that they can get very interested in very unusual things. Their hobby that they may really love, they could paint and really paint for ages. Or they could go out and look for mini beasts in the garden and suddenly write a whole program and a project all around that, just because they're interested in it. So it will be an opportunity to get away from all this data. I've been very mindful that it was all about league tables and achievements and stats and all of that type of learning, but perhaps that could be broader, and it can be music and physical exercise and creativity as well that you can help him with, perhaps.
Yeah, I think one of the other mums had said that they're getting their children to do a kind of like Anne Frank style diary on the situation today, because it's so unusual that, fingers crossed, it doesn't happen again in a very long time.
Yes.
But you've got something to look back on.
Yes, yeah, and it's important actually to keep the very bigger picture. This will just, please God, this will just be a memory of, do you remember that time in the spring? I'm going to date myself, but I did my O-levels in 1976, and I remember it was a beautiful hot summer because everyone talked about the 76 summer, and for me, that's what it was all about. And so they will look back, if you handle it well, if you relax and you make them feel safe and secure, as just, oh my God, you remember that time we were in lockdown and we had to sort of stay home all the time? It will be just part of their bigger picture of their lives. So do try and take that bigger picture and kind of, you know, that will adapt your perspective a little bit, I hope.
Yeah.
What about sibling rivalry? How do they get on, the 11 and the 5-year-old? Do they play well together? Because it's about talking about, we are a team. We're Team Atkins, we play together, we stick together, and perhaps they will develop a nice bond together if you encourage it. How do they get on?
Yeah, no, I only said that to my husband yesterday. I do feel that it's brought them closer together because they've got no option.
Yeah, but then that's lovely. It may last a lifetime, that bond, actually, mightn't it?
Yeah, I think it's been really nice for them actually in a sort of weird way, because they have been, the playtime that I'm making them have, they're going out together on the trampoline, they're playing football together. So whereas before my son would have been like, oh, go away, Isabel, you're not playing with me, but they're quite happy to go out and enjoy each other's company now, which is great.
Well, there you go. I think that's a fantastic positive to take from it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come back in 6 weeks though.
There'll be a few battles between now and then.
Yeah.
Hi Jackie. Jackie's joined us. Hello.
Hello, Jackie. So how is everyone else finding it with the work-life balance and doing, you know, what businesses are you all in?
Well, I can maybe comment about what I'm doing. So I think one of the key important things is to try, you mentioned earlier too about, you know, your plan for the day. So I am sticking to a routine. So I think it's very, very easy for people to just think, oh, well, you know, I'll get up, I'll stay in my pajamas. Thanks to this group today, I've got my makeup on.
Yeah, yes, me too.
So what I'm doing is,
Sorry.
I know what my routine is, and Roisin has a routine. So because she's been provided with quite a lot of work from school, we've basically set out the day, and I've tried to give her some accountability around that, because what I thought was there's no point of me setting a timetable for her where she'll just be like, this is not what I want to do. So we worked on that timetable together, and she, for example, and I've seen this loads on social media about getting children to teach you something. So my normal, not today, but my normal 9:30 is Roisin teaching me yoga. Now, may I add, I did not know that Roisin knew too much. I knew she was getting some yoga lessons at school, but she goes to a flex class on a Sunday, and I was actually astounded yesterday in what that girl taught me.
Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that absolutely lovely? Because we often just top down to kids, and actually that's a lovely opportunity to get a child to teach you something that you didn't know, and it bonds you up, and it's lovely for them. It's great for self-esteem.
It is. So she's delighted with herself. So I may be injured for the rest of the week, but she's delighted for teaching yoga. So for me, the routine, I live my life with routines, and the routine's really, really important for us as a family. So Bernie's the same. He is completely routine driven. He needs Sue, you know, he needs his own space and all that stuff. And I mentioned earlier that I didn't realise that Boris, when he did his announcement, had said it was only mums that were to do the homeschooling. So that's the script in this house as well, yes. But one key thing is, you mentioned earlier about the oxygen mask, and when we did work together, the one thing that Sue used to always talk to me about was you cannot give of your best unless you're feeling your best and looking after yourself as the number one priority. We all know that as mums, children are our priority, but I ensure that, you know, there are times where I take time out. So, example, we have lunch between 12:30 and 1:30 now. And Roisin yesterday said to me, Mum, can we spend time together at lunchtime? And in my mind, I'm like, oh, for God's sake, we've been spending time together since 9 o'clock this morning. But I am seeking out time on my own. It's so important as part of that.
Good, because yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Then what about you? How are you getting on?
Me, sorry. Yeah. Well, I've got an early 9-year-old girl and an early 7-year-old boy, but I'm lucky they go on really well. So but we'll see again how that is in 6 weeks. But they do play really well together. So
well, that's wonderful, isn't it? That means that you can get on, you can relax a little bit. You're not constantly being around, perhaps, you know.
What have the schools, in terms of work provided by the schools, what have you been given, or have you not been given anything?
Quite a lot of worksheets, and then online, you know, the Bug Club and the Sum Dog and things like that, which they're good, but I still prefer like an actual book, personally.
Well, I've got some links, so I know that you've got links as well, and I know that Laura has got links in terms of access, because quite a lot of people have been in touch with me to say, you know, they've been with very limited resources. So some people are kind of trying to seek out ways to keep their children engaged, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a balance between an activity that they enjoy, or you're going to actually damage their love of learning. I can hear a great deal of pressure still from what you're saying, Rissa, around this idea of constantly being online, doing all sorts of worksheets. I think this is an opportunity to, keep things kind of going, have routines, change routines as well, because it's a new kind of viewpoint of the world. But you don't want to be a slave to a worksheet, because you might damage their love of long-term learning. So it's about kind of having that growth mindset as well. And going on, I mean, when I was a teacher, I remember before we had all this sort of, national curriculum, and I'm not knocking that, but I remember a child I was teaching reception, they were 5, and he walked in with a bird's nest. And I just went off on one for the morning on painting, drawing, looking up how many, what sort of bird it was, what sort of trees they like, what's their habitat like. I mean, we just went off on a tangent. And I always maintain that those were some of my best lessons, because I was just enthusiastic and going with the flow of the child. So it is an opportunity to come off the worksheet if you want to, and follow and pursue their interests as well, which isn't a bad thing at all, is it?
Yeah.
No, I think that's great as well. And we've done so many things prior to the official lockdown, but Roisin for about a year has wanted to climb a hill. So we did that on Sunday, and on the way back down I noticed tadpoles, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, I used to collect tadpoles as a child. So I've now got the jar waiting. The tadpoles will probably be frogs by the time we're allowed to. But it's exactly that. But sometimes I think parents need the confidence to go with the flow.
And that's why I suppose I'm giving you permission. I don't know, who am I? But I'm giving you permission to go with the flow. And I talk about ING activities. I have a family fun kind of hashtag on a Friday in normal circumstances, where it's cooking, baking, reading, exploring, den building. I don't know. It's ING, and if we were in a different world, it was bike riding or footballing, whatever it might be. That is an active verb that you do together, and that builds bonds, and that builds, family time. So perhaps just think about coming out of the box from the worksheet, because as you said about lunchtime there, actually, you could, if you are, and you don't have to be Mary Poppins about this, but you could get her chopping up the carrots and helping you make the sandwiches and all of that sort of business. We all know that's sort of, normal, but you don't have to be doing it all the time. I mean, there are times when you think, oh, for God's sake, I've just got to do it now. because I've got a deadline or something to get through. I mean, that is the juggle, isn't it? How are people coping with the work-life thing? You run your own businesses. So how is that being, how are you doing that?
Yeah, I've been working from home and I found it quite challenging trying to do work and then trying to make sure that they're okay as well.
And have you got a partner at home as well?
Yeah, well, he was still working until Monday, but he'll be here now, so that's fine.
No, because
That'll help.
these are the conversations that people have to have with, well, it's not all down to me, thanks, because otherwise that can build a bit of resentment. Everybody's sort of in it together. No one's sort of done it before, but it is about, well, let's sit down and let's have a cup of coffee in the evening and a glass of wine to connect and chat. Let's talk about what is working and what isn't working. I have a sort of a plan thing that I'm coaching people. And, you know, from that, and this is not about pointing fingers and being, you know, arsey with your partner. It's actually saying, look, we are a couple now here. I've got to work. My work is just as important as your work. And can you help me at times with the kids? Can you, you know, do 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock? And, you know, and then children also have to learn to occupy themselves. You are not a Butlins redcoat to keep on entertaining them. And they must learn that. I'm a great believer in boredom. You know, I was an only child. And my goodness, I think some of my creativity and all those mud pies I built in the garden in Streatham served me in good stead, because I didn't have a playmate automatically there beside me, so I had to turn into something creative. So, you know, let them be bored. It's not a bad thing, is it?
Yeah, that's a good point, because I feel as if I'm constantly entertaining my children.
And that's exhausting. And that's not your job either, because you're robbing them. Think of it in this way. You might be robbing them of the opportunity to get creative themselves. Also negotiating, if you rush in too quickly to rescue them and pull them apart, I mean, not if they're knocking 6 bells out of each other, but if they are having a bit of a, you know, funny time, don't always, parents rush into rescue. And in fact, if you step back sometimes, they learn negotiating skills. They do learn to one leads and one follows, and then perhaps the next day it's the other way around. There's all sorts of soft skills that I think that kids are learning. And also they need to learn, I remember my son, I'm always talking about my son and my daughter, but when I used to have an office down in the, when we lived on the farm, I had the stables converted into an office. And I remember, I don't know if I was on the radio, I think I might be sort of bank manager or something, but he came in and he didn't realise, and he kept talking and talking, and I kept saying, you know, just a minute. And then at the end of that, I remember speaking to him, and you know, it's your tone of voice, it's your body language. He didn't get cross, he didn't understand, but he never interrupted me again if I was on the phone in the office. That was me being the teacher. But you have to say to them, you know, they can't just run in. If you are doing something important, I know it's all a bit different now, and people are more flexible if someone walks in behind you. Hopefully, you know, they've got their pajamas on or something. But it is about making sure that there are some sort of rules around it. If mummy's in here doing this, between now and I tell you, don't interrupt them because mummy's working, and explain it so that they know that this is important as well, so that you're not constantly, as I say, trying to entertain them, keep them busy and educate them. You have to keep a bigger balance of the picture.
So what would your advice be for, you know, there's lots of mums who are already in that mindset of, oh, we need to do the 24/7 entertainment, we need to make sure they're okay. How would you very gently introduce, because Roisin's really sensitive, you may have noticed makeup on this morning, that's her creative time this morning. But so she is an only child really in the house.
Yes.
Herself, so she does spend time alone, and I'm absolutely comfortable with that. But I know a lot of mums feel they need to be doing something all the time. How do you introduce that to mums that
I just say
the busyness?
This is this whole thing of relax, get grounded, get centered, take the long-term picture, and also, you know, this is going to, it won't damage them forever if they're not constantly stimulated. And we can't always, all of us can't be constantly stimulated. You have to have downtime, you have to have bored time, you have to have quiet time, you have to have lots of fun time. It's a mixture, isn't it? So I'm giving mums permission not to be Mary Poppins or not to be that Butlins redcoat. It's a lovely opportunity to actually get on the floor and play with the Lego or the Polly Pockets or whatever they're playing with these days. And it's nice to spend quality time with them. You might ask them more open-ended questions. You might discover more about them. I'm going to give you a great plug now, because I've got a Can Do Kid journal coming out in April, which is all about building self-esteem activities and building confidence and resilience. Those sort of activities are lovely to do together. You don't have to rush through them. Sometimes they can be. The other thing is, I've got a technique called just a minute. Sometimes if you sit with your child, in your head it's just a minute, you sit down, they might be doing a jigsaw, they might be doing some colouring, I don't know what they're doing, they're playing with something or doing something. And they all sit with them for a minute, and then lo and behold, you might have stayed there 5 minutes, but you've set them off. And then you can kind of get up and peel the potatoes, or go over here and do what you've got to do, or go alongside them. So that's a great technique, that for a minute technique, because sometimes children just need a bit of sort of support, if you like, even emotionally, while they're playing or they're learning or they're doing something. So I hope that simple technique might help you.
Yeah, that's really good. Jen, can we come back to you? Because I'm thinking about the fact that you're thinking,
Wait.
so when and how are you managing to get your work done?
I know, just trying to get up in the morning and do it when they're doing theirs as well. And then just,
you know, the other thing is, if you work for yourself, you don't have to answer to people. The flexibility of when they're in bed. I know that quite a lot of mums I've been working with explain to their, you know, bosses and all that, but you're in a different position if you work for yourself. But I used to find the same. I used to do all the stuff that I did when I was deputy head and stuff like that for the kids. And then when they went to bed at 7:30, I would mark 8 o'clock for an hour or whatever it would be, or prepare the next day or whatever. So it's about thinking of it as a lot, like last night, for example, getting ready for in my head, you know, I want to about co-parenting. I work with people going through divorce. So I wrote an article, but I wrote it on my phone because I just find my phone so fantastic. I was in bed, it was 11 o'clock when I got this idea, and I finished it at 1 because that's sort of the way but I'd had the rest of the day doing all sorts of other things. Suddenly then I put it up on my website, it's sitting there ready for people and to plug it and to tell people about co-parenting through the coronavirus. So you can work very flexibly. Now, no one's telling you have to do 9 to 5. If it works for you to, I don't know, the kids watch a bit of telly for an hour between 3 and 4, then that's what you do, and you go off and do a proper hour then. So think of it a bit more out of the box, and it's okay to be very flexible, isn't it?
yeah, I think it gets to a point in the day you need to stop and give them a wee bit of time and then come back later on.
Yeah. I call it like an emotional bucket. I when I was teaching as well, and I still do with the kids that I work with, there's a wonderful book called Have You Filled a Bucket Today? If you get a chance, I mean, I don't know if Amazon's on anymore, I don't think it is, but Have You Filled a Bucket is a beautiful thing. And we used to have, I've got all these little buckets in my class, all the kids, all these 30 little buckets with their names on, and I had one too. So have you filled a bucket? Have you been kind? Have you been respectful? Did you say something nice? And they used to rush in from playtime, and I used to get inundated with, he was so nice, he played football with me. And then they could put this sequin into the bucket. And God, it was awful when someone knocked the bucket over the sequins when everyone was anyway, it didn't matter. It was the concept of teaching them to be kind, respectful. And it's that same thing, filling up their buckets with some time, yes, but not feeling that you have to be at their mercy, because I see so many parents are trying to be everything to their kids, and you're not their friend, you are their parent, and you don't have to do everything for them. So be confident in putting boundaries around some of your work. That's okay.
That's excellent. So I've got paper version of the bucket that I can put the file on, because it's really useful. You could use it just now. The mum, the dad, the children could all be, you know, showing examples of how you're filling the bucket.
And it's a lovely concept to have in the family, because certainly for sibling rivalry, it means that you are respectful of each other, because some families are hammer and tongs with each other and they don't get on, and you know, there's unkindness and all sorts of, not just verbal, physical stuff going on too. So it's having the intention that we are a team, we are in it together, we respect each other, we help each other. You just keep on banging on. They're what you call core values, and if you have those core values, you pass them on to your children no matter what. And to me, that's very important, you know. And of course, don't forget, they're watching, learning, looking at you all the time, how you and your partner speak to each other in this time of challenge and change is quite important too, because that's quite a blueprint for love. So no pressure at all, ladies.
None. Oh, so we're losing you. Oh, you're back.
Is there anything anyone would like to ask me?
In fact, I have a wee question. You know how obviously with the Easter holidays coming up, what does everyone plan to do? Do you take a break or do you continue with the routine?
I think don't you find that you have to just keep mindful of what the government keeps saying and how each day is panning out? I don't know up in Scotland how it's working, but here we have a daily, well, I know I've seen Nicola Sturgeon on there, but don't we just have to see what we're all trying to do to slow the virus down? So I don't make any plans. Has anyone made plans for Easter? I haven't even thought about it.
Oh, sorry, I mean with regards to the homeschooling, will you just take a break or should you continue?
Well, if you take that longer term picture, you can be as flexible as you like because you're not under a timetable as such. And in fact, interestingly enough, I remember Eamon Holmes taking the mickey out of me for this, but I call it summer slippage. When you have that very long summer holiday, I used to actually not hate, that's not right. I found in September when the kids came back, after you've got them up so well in July, it was so fantastic. And then you start again in September and, back to sort of explaining all the ways that you do things. And you know this, you've got nurseries and stuff. So keeping it ticking over is much better than doing it all now and then having a break. In fact, it's wonderful to just keep the whole thing ticking along because you don't have to follow school holidays anymore, do you?
That's true.
I think the children will be relatively unaware that, they would be coming out of school for that period of time. I don't know about anybody else, but last Thursday night, the strange things that come into your mind because you know what's coming, but nobody's announced lockdown. So last Thursday night, I suddenly thought about the Easter Bunny. I planned last Thursday into Friday because it's these practicalities, isn't it? That you always at one point have your mum head on, but you think you've got to plan through that, don't you? But for me, Roisin's not going to know when Easter holidays would start, so I'll just keep things. I think the way we'll get through it is just being as fluid as we can and adapting to whatever's coming our way, but keeping that sense of some kind of routine.
How are people coping with grandparents and stuff like that? Because I've been talking a lot about picking up the phone, the old-fashioned stuff, sending a letter, drawing a picture, all of that. How are you all coping with that? Because grandparents are a worry, aren't they? Really, too.
So what we're doing is my in-laws are very needy. Trying to sit quietly. So what we've started to do is we've started to FaceTime them because there was a real need that they wanted visits, and I've had to really put my foot down on that. And for my mum and dad are in lockdown in Spain, so we're FaceTiming them. But the other thing that we're doing for our neighbours, there's 9 houses where I live, and 4 of the people who stay here are over 70, so they've been staying in. So we've started to, Roisin's been like, and again, this is another they're occupied, but she's been hand making cards with rainbows, and we've been putting them through the letter boxes, and we've done, I don't know if anybody's done this, but we've done the rainbows on the window.
I was just about to say the rainbow. That's a lovely thing.
So some of the neighbours have messaged to say that, we've seen them, it's really brightened our day. So it's wee things like that actually that, it's like the community spirit. I've never known anything like it.
Yeah. I think it brings out the real best in people. There's been enormous amounts of goodwill and people helping. And yet it also brings out the worst in people too. Sometimes at the supermarket queues down here, it's quite, unpleasant. But it is about keeping, and also trying to explain to the grandparents that it's not really, I just put something up on Twitter today. It was about, it's not that, imagine you actually have it, but you don't want to give it to somebody else. You change your mindset about, rather than, oh, I don't want to get it. It's a question of, you may well have it, but don't pass it on. And explaining sometimes, my husband's father is 91, and he's a full-time carer for his wife, who's 84. She's got, you know, severe advanced dementia. And we've been trying to explain to him, you know, Kevin brought up all this food for 2 weeks, it went in the freezer, and he wanted it, and also getting out in the fresh air. But apparently he just disregarded everything and went to Sainsbury's one of the days. And you just think, because they went through the war, they think this is an invisible enemy. This is the trouble. This isn't, you know, literally planes flying overhead. This could be on trolley handles, on your car, on your keys. It's just could be anywhere. So explaining that to them, and I had you know, Laura Henry, my friend, who's got Jojo and Gran Gran out on CBeebies at the moment. She was just sent me a message last night to say, oh my days, my mother has been out. She's 80 so and so, trying to explain to her to stay in. You know, what are they doing? They're vulnerable, and it's crazy. So I suppose it's trying to not be unkind about that, but actually you're right. It's important you don't visit them and bring the germs in, or, you know, can you imagine that, giving them something that would kill them? I mean, that's just terrible. So they won't like you for it, perhaps, but they'll thank you for it. Oh, there's a sound bite.
What about everyone else? How are you dealing with relatives and grandparents and things like that? Because again, there's the bonds between a lot of children and their grandparents. So again, that's a separation thing as well, isn't it? How's everyone else managing that?
Yeah, definitely technology is the way forward in this instance, isn't it? FaceTime's a great thing, a really good thing.
They do it, you know, because that's the thing we've got, is the 91-year-old can't even really work the mobile phone very confidently. You're probably slightly different generation. You've probably got grandparents who are more like my age or just a bit older than me. So perhaps that's great that they do FaceTime and Skype or whatever it might be, because that is the way forward, isn't it?
Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing I was writing about last night, and I was thinking, you could, and I was thinking about divorced parents, you could go on Skype and you could cook together. You know, dad's in another house, kids are in with mum this week or whatever it is. You could cook a meal together on Skype, couldn't you? Dads to their children last thing at night, they can't see them that day or that week or something. So it's about thinking creatively, isn't it, about how we communicate now? And that's when the technology is a fantastic thing.
Yeah. And I think I think the other thing you can do there, Sue, is I've seen a lot of people posting on Instagram photos of, you know, the last time that a family were around a table. I think you can still do that virtually. You could have your meal together.
Isn't that lovely? And you come in, you said about Easter and stuff like that, knows what it'll be. But actually that's really interesting, isn't it? You could sit round and, you know, the people are on the table there, but you're eating together. That's actually really interesting. Yeah, good idea.
I will not be doing that, may I add. Some of us are getting a break. Let's have a wee look. I had some other things that so maybe we should chat about, I'm really fortunate because Roisin's not overly technological herself, so she's not into gaming at all. And then yesterday we have introduced her to the Xbox. So we got one of the, I know Sue's face. We got one of
that, Dad.
No, well, Dad has resurrected the Xbox himself. But we downloaded one of my childhood favourites, Crash Bandicoot, and we actually played it together. Because I'm paranoid about all these things. I'm paranoid about any online gaming. I'm off the scale paranoid about it. So, you know, for me, again, trying to find a balance, it's not in Roisin's radar. She's not interested, thankfully. But how would you balance that for families whose children, that's what they love to do?
Yeah, it really is difficult, isn't it? I call it be a media mentor to your kids. So it depends on the age, depends what they're doing. You've described something great fun. She's not going to get really hooked into it. You had a laugh together. She's got happy memory of you, Dad, and her playing it together. That's more important than anything else. But then you step into teenagers. And of course, don't forget, we tend to come sort of autocratically down at the teenager. They need to feel connected. They're as unsettled as we are around what's happening. They don't even know about their exams, what's going to happen if they want to go to university, how this will affect their grades. And so talking to their friends becomes that really important part. You want to be bonded, don't you? I remember it as a teenager as well. You want to feel connected to your friends. You do have to, again, though, and they won't like you for it, I suppose, talk and teach them about not having it in their bedrooms all the time. Because when my kids were young, we had technology that we could keep an eye on. Now everyone's got portable devices. They can be doing anything online. So one of the simple things is to talk with them and ask them themselves, get them involved. If they don't feel you're telling them, teenagers like it if they feel included. You know, what do you think? How are we going to get a balance with this? Because you yourself know you mustn't be on it all day long. And it depends what you're doing on it is the other thing too, of course, don't forget. But how about a simple rule is we always put them away at table when we're eating together. That's another way to bond with your team, actually. Very simply, don't nag, just sit, chat, laugh, think about memories of when, you know, there were funny holidays and get that sort of conversation going. And charge, everyone must do this. You can't just tell your teams to do it. Charge your phone downstairs in the kitchen at night.
Yeah.
So you're not tempted with it by the bed, says she, who has their working on that thing at 11 o'clock at night. Don't do as I do, do as I say. But I haven't got teenagers at the moment anyway. So, but you know what I mean? That introduce that sort of very simple thing that just becomes a habit for the whole family. And you also may say, you know, right, 10 o'clock is when, you know, the router goes off or something dramatic, so that no one can access some of this stuff if it is becoming a problem.
Hide the controllers and then you can't do anything.
And it is tough because they do like it. It is education. It can be relaxing. It can be all sorts of, like anything in life. It's about balance and it's about confidence. That's why I say be a media mentor. I think I've written lots of stuff about that on my website and in my parenting club. If you're worried about that, I've got some checklists and ideas around how to find that. But I think if you see yourself in that role, not a policeman, because that sort of comes a bit, you know, top down again, but more about collaborating. Look, you know, I always remember this. We used to have family talk times, and I'd say, well, look, I've got a bit of a problem. And if you just say even that script, even with the young ones, you know, but certainly the teens, they love that idea that you see them as growing up, that you're not exactly equal, but you're interested in their opinion because they will have one. And of course, if we help them make decisions in their teenage years at home, they're going to make sensible decisions when they're out and on their own or with their peers, you know, when we all get back to normal. So practice asking them and kind of getting them to think for themselves and allowing them to sort of have that flexibility. And certainly around technology, I'm asked that all the time, but also you've got to be mindful of their mental health, because you can get depressed, you can get low, you think it's good, you think it's fun, but you're addicted to it. So yeah, take it seriously and think about, get a cup of coffee and pause to ponder what it looks like and sounds like and feels like for you. Get your partner, if you have one, to sing from the same song sheet, because nothing is worse if they play one against the other. Oh, Dad says it's all right, you know, because Dad wants to play this game for an hour and a half or something. Again, you know, find balance and all of that. And I know sometimes even now, I used to talk about coming together. So you can create these routines. Like on Friday night, you could have, if you're lucky enough to get popcorn or something or make it, sit down and watch a film together. And isn't it actually quite nice to be looking at some of these old ones? I mean, I don't know, Harvey the Rabbit and John Wayne or Cary Grant, I don't know. Go back to all of those sorts of old-fashioned classics that kids will never have seen. And also, like you said, is ask them what they like, and then you get interested in what they might like. Why do you like that music? Why is that a funny program to you? And some of it is not appropriate. I don't want to sit and watch the In-Betweeners, but you know, find ways to connect. I have something called the Crucial C's. If you read my blog about Sue Atkins, the Crucial C's, so important. Connection, capability, and feeling competent. That they count, that they matter, that they're significant, and that they have courage to fail, courage to get back up again. Those sort of 4 crucial C's. You can't go very far wrong in your sort of parenting if you sort of see which one of those is missing, or what are they trying to get, you know, why are they doing that? And we rob them sometimes as teenagers of feeling capable and competent. And that's one of the key things that they want to feel.
Has anyone got, and I'm conscious of time, has anyone got anything that you want to ask, or any burning questions, anything that you're thinking, how are we getting through this? It's been so helpful so far. If not, maybe Jen, on you go.
No, I was just going to say I don't think I have anything else. Thanks.
So can we maybe,
I'll come back in a few weeks' time then, shall I?
we'll come back to you. So one of the things, now I know that, and I can't think what the phrase is that you use, but the phrase that I use is, and it's so important no matter what age your children are or how many children you've got in the house, is, and it's one of my top tips just now, is to choose your battles wisely.
Yeah.
So what's your phrase on that? Because you're...
I think you choose your battles so you win the war. Because if you nag about every single thing, then the children get what you call demotivated, and they go, what's the point? You know, you see, and that's when naughty behaviour kicks in, actually. So yes, pick your battles, because you're at home now. Little things will start to grate at times on you. And I remember with my own daughter, she was very untidy and she used to hang things on the floor all the time. And it used to get on my nerves because I used to go up those stairs and pass her room all the time. So I learned in a very simple way to shut her door. Because it was actually genuinely damaging the relationship. I was, you know, really wound up by it, really annoying. But that is their space, isn't it, sometimes? But you have to have rules about it. So in the end also, it was, well, by Saturday morning at 12 o'clock, you have to bring all the glasses down and crisp packets or whatever it is, hoover it, clean it. So we start again, and we repress the reset button every Saturday at midday. So that was the balance. So it could be a tick for, you know, for most of the week, but it would get kind of tidied up at that point. So yes, you have to pick them, because if you keep on and on and on, you just damage the relationship long term, and you've got to keep that in mind. What will they say about my childhood to their children? And that will really ground you, and you'll think, yeah, I want them to have a happy memory. And this is important in this time as well. How will they describe this lockdown, unusual period to their children about how you cope with it? It's important then to look after yourself so that you can make sure that they're not damaged by it. In fact, it could be a wonderful opportunity to happy memories with them, about laughing, playing, dancing, eating, chatting, and reading with them. Keep it simple, I think.
Thank you, Sue. So Sue very kindly, when we were chatting yesterday, agreed. In fact, she just suggested she would come on to this call. So it's not about plugging you, Sue, but I think it's really important because of the wealth of knowledge that you have. If you're happy, I'll share your website to the group and to the wider group, because in actual fact, Sue, lots of really valuable information on there. She's got blogs, you've got videos as well.
Yeah, videos, I've got webinars. I mean, that's for my parenting club members. But yeah, there's about 600 videos. You don't have to watch them all, they're only 1 minute each. But they're all about topics like, you know, babies and then toddlers and then tweens and then teenagers, on all sorts of topics. So yeah, jump in and join in and have a look around at anything that I've got going there.
And she'll be expecting us to join her Instagram live as well now.
And pass the word on, you know, if you know of any mums or dads or grandmas or whoever, or childcare, you know, that would find my stuff interesting or helpful, by all means pass it on, because it's all about, we're in it together, really, aren't we?
Absolutely, that's the big strong message that's coming just now. And then the final word for me is, and this is something that I am reminding myself every morning, is sense of humour at this time is critical. So
yes, yeah, bit of humour goes a long way. A smile is a curve that puts a lot of things straight. And I shall leave you with that. And I'm shopping from Waitrose.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us.